Hey everybody, this is Sheets, and we're going to be going over the UFC card for this weekend. First thing to note is that it is a very sweet early start time of 4 p.m. Saturday, so it will be over at a reasonable time, late Saturday evening. Um, the other thing to note is that it is not a particularly strong card from a name value perspective, but what's good is that there are a full 13 fights. So what that means is that you're not going to have to get too crazy to, I don't know, to attempt to maybe take down the whole cheese in the big GPP. In addition to that, as we'll get to, the main event is not a must-play main event, which the reasons for that we will expound upon later. So another uh, another reason why you can play this card making really good plays without getting too kooky, and be very competitive to win the full 100,000 or whatever they're paying for first in the big GPP. But we'll start today by just going through fight by fight and see who looks to be, the top plays. And then what we're going to do is probably tomorrow evening, um, or Saturday morning. Should I do it? No, either tomorrow evening or Saturday morning. We'll do a lineup construction video where we avail ourselves of SaberSim and the sim tools and other things to help us, you know, build good, unique lineups that will, try to compete for the big prize. But for now, let's just go fight by fight and get on with this. So, first fight here, we have Carla Judas versus, boy, oh boy, Unice Dubin. Yikes. Well, it's a 9,300, 6,900 fight, and you have Judas is minus 370. But the problem here is that her inside the distance line is extremely poor. For a female fight, it's actually not that bad, but given her price, you really can't play her at, plus 200 inside the distance at this price on DraftKings. So this is probably going to be a straight up fade. Now, again, when we get to playing, the big GPPs, you have to be a little more, have a little more vision with what's playable. But we're talking about 20 max and below, and certainly the big buy-in, like this fight has no business being in your lineups. On the other hand, this next one probably, I don't know. I have a feeling that this is going to be in your lineups. I don't know why, but you have Josiah Nunez versus Priscilla Cachoeira, and Priscilla Cachoeira, she produces fantasy points, whether it be for herself or for her opponents. Um, she's has absolutely no striking defense, but she has quite a bit of power. So she really either really lays it on people or gets it laid on her. And when she fights grapplers, it's she's a walking grappling bag, I guess you could put it. Against Jasmine Josevicius and Miranda Maverick, she gave up well over 120 fantasy points, I think, in both of these fights. So what she has going for her in this matchup is that her opponent has just no grappling at all. I don't believe. I do see two. No, I was about to say I'd see two takedowns. I don't. I see two knockdowns in her fight against Pasquale. So what you have here are two fighters that really like to swing wild, and that's usually a recipe for good fantasy points. Um, I would have thought that the inside the distance line was going to be a little juicier here, but you look at it, you have Cachoeira inside plus 350. That is so wide. I didn't imagine that. And Nunez plus 350 as well. I don't know about any of that. I can tell you this. I'm definitely betting this fight to go inside the distance. And this is one of the annoying things about DFS. You're really not supposed to have an opinion on what the line is. Like you're supposed to look at this fight and say, you know what? Both fighters have poor inside the distance line. We're not supposed to play the fight, and neither fighter has takedown upside, so you're not supposed to play the fight. But I don't know. My biases are starting to get to me here, and I really want to play this fight. Um, what I'm supposed to do is talk myself out of that and say, you know what? Let's just stick with the metrics and be on with it. We'll see if I actually do that when it comes time to put my lineups together. I have a feeling I'm going to end up forcing one of these two, or if not both of them, into my lineups, just because this is what I see happening. I just see these fighters just meeting in the middle and just laying it down, and it's not exactly what you see normally out of a female fight, but I don't know if that could be avoided here. Andre Lima versus Daniel Barres, another really big um money line, but he doesn't usually have a lot of volume. I mean, let's take a look at his inside the distance line for Lima. And inside the distance, is this right? Plus 260. And this is an atrocity. I mean, at this price, at 9K, it's just kind of a pass. So, I mean, if you're looking at these, you know, at these from a pure metrics perspective, it's really pass, pass, pass the first three fights, and we might even get to more passes. Let's put Cachoeira in here just for funsies, just so we at least know that we like somebody. But aside from that, I mean, the first four fights are really, really putrid as far as DFS goes. First three fights, I should say. And Sam Hughes versus Stephanie Luciano, and this is no bargain either. I mean, you look at this one, another female fight with an atrocious inside the distance line. We'll take a look at it. Hughes inside, what's she plus 1,000, something like that. Luciano inside plus like 800. I mean, you just can't play this unless you're sure that one fighter is going to have a huge grappling advantage, and that's simply just not the case here. Just a really bad DFS start to this card. Then you get to who's this? Josiah Musasa. You know, I'll tell you, as we go up this card, I just have a feeling at the end of the day, maybe you are going to have to play this main event because so far there's just no fight that, at least from a metric perspective, is a must play. So Musasa against Vera, I'd like to think that Musasa is going to have a good inside the distance line. I mean, let's take a look at this. Musasa versus Carlos Vera. It's got to be like minus 150, right? Let's take a look. Yeah, it is. Musasa inside minus 140-ish, big adjustments. So, okay, now we're on to something. Now, I will say also that Carlos Vera can be a kind of a sneaky grappler. I don't know if he's going to win, but he might, put Musasa in some tough positions early that maybe he doesn't get the win, but he stifles him for a round. And if you're 9,400, you really need that first round knockout usually to get it done. But so far, best play on the slate. We'll see what else we get to later. For example, let's look at Su Young Yu, 9,500. Oh, man. What are the days of Sun Young Yu at 9,500? He is minus 625. And his inside the distance line is minus 120. I mean, even that's not good for 9,500. So I don't know. This is a rough card. What's good about this card is that if you like fade these first bunch of fights, you can go out for the afternoon and go, oh, I don't know, let's see. Come back after what, 4 hours, and then hope you have like 6 decisions that you didn't have any of. And then you can just like root for these last fights because this beginning to this card is either just poor inside the distance line or really overpriced decent inside the distance lines. So I don't know. This next one, I think, is you're just going to have to play. I mean, Waldo Cortez Acosta against Ryan Spann heavyweight, and Ryan Spann usually, I should say usually puts on, good fantasy points. I mean, 103 in a win here, first round sub here, and then he obliged here against Guskov, giving up a second round KO. Krylov gave up a first round sub. So he is usually volatile. Cortez usually isn't, though. This is the problem. Most of his fights go to decision. So, oh boy, but the prices are so strong. I mean, 8,300, 7,900. I bet you both these guys are what, probably plus 200 inside. Let's take a look. Um, that's what I'm guessing. They're both plus 200. Let's take a look. Actually, even better. Look at that. Oh no, big adjusted span is plus 200. Cortez a little worse, plus 220 or something like that. But for this price, that's pretty good. So I think that both these fighters are very strong. So as I said, I mean, the first what, six fights or whatever that is, just no good. And then we start to pick up the pace a little bit. And then we get to this next one. And by the way, I mean, whether you pick Span or Cortez, to me, it doesn't really make a difference. I mean, they're both very strong. Now you have Vallejos versus Choi. Um, he did get a win a couple of fights ago, but he beat Arosa. This guy's not bad, but I mean, if you're going to look at the metrics at all, I mean, you have Vallejos, who's I think is probably minus 160 inside. Take a look. Maybe even more. Vallejos inside. Oh, that minus 200 at least inside the distance. Yeah, that's rough business. Even round one is plus 150. I mean, this is at only 9,100. Like, this is the best play. Okay. If you want to know what the best play is, this is the best play. And if you want to build lineups with everything starting with the, fight 9 or whatever, you could certainly do that. But Vallejos is super, super strong. I mean, that at that inside the distance line at that price, this is your cash game lock, I guess. You definitely want to play this. Okay, so I guess moving up the card, as they say, we have Brenson Ribeiro versus the guy whose name I can't pronounce, but he's really big. He's a big fat dude at only 8,900. I bet you this is going to be a strong play. Let's take a look at the inside the distance line. It's minus 130. I mean, let's go. See, why are we messing with any of these earlier fights? I mean, even Musasa is not that great, but Vallejos, DR, not gonna fade you, whatever his name is. You got the $8,900 fat guy with a minus 110 inside on a card like this. Let's go. I mean, you start your lineups with Vallejos and this dude, and then your life is pretty easy, I think. Damon Blackshear versus Cody Gibson. It's a pretty healthy price tag for Blackshear, to be perfectly honest with you. Let's take a look at his inside the distance line. There's no way it's minus 110, is it? Gibson inside, and it's not Gibson. Blackshear inside. Yeah, I didn't think so. It's like plus 200. And that's not that great, I have to say, at 9,100. And it's not like he gets well, I mean, he did get 4 takedowns a few fights ago. It's not bad, but I think Gibson's pretty good on the mat in his own self. And he had 5 takedowns in the last fight against somebody who's not that good. But so I don't know. I think this fight kind of, you have them both trying to wrestle maybe, and one offsets the other. And I don't know. This fight is probably second or third tier to me. So for me, I would not make this a key fight at all, either side of this. Then you get Alex Hernandez, 8,600 versus Holobas, 7,600. I have a feeling Alex Hernandez is going to look good here on the sheet, so to speak. Let's see if he's plus 200 or so inside. That might be reasonable. Let's see. Hernandez inside. No, it's no good. Holobas inside is not bad. That's only plus 300. What's his price here? 70. Yeah, not really. So this one's not great. Hernandez, Holobas, not great. Okay, Zaleski Dos Santos, to me, he beat Benoit Saint Denis somehow. Yeah, another good win. Tough loss to Fakhretdinov. And then what's this? This Randy Brown loss. Did get 4 takedowns. You have to think that he's a pretty decent favorite here. She into Ninja Kwan, he's terrible. We're gonna play him. He did get 100 significant strikes, but he has no takedowns. I'm not playing him in DFS. If anybody here, I'm gonna play DeSantos. And then in the main event, boy, at the beginning I was saying that this fight is, not that difficult to fade, but I don't know. Boy, um, 5 rounds and it's 8,200 8K. That's a problem, you know. It's not like the Lice is that, you know, big of a fantasy score. He doesn't really get takedowns. I mean, here you got to go all the way back 2021. He had 5 takedowns. He's not taking down Vittori. Okay. If he's gonna get him, it's gonna be knocking him out somehow. I mean, Vittori he's definitely the better grappler here. So I don't know. Maybe, just maybe. Look at some of these fantasy point scores. Oh my God. 125, 129, 156, 122. Now he hasn't done that in a while, but I mean, one of them he did fight the Lice. It was kind of a dud fight, honestly. I mean, look, he won with a 72 fantasy point production. That's not great. So if the ownership is what it usually is on these fights, meaning very high, maybe you can fade this. I mean, it's certainly no lock that this fight delivers. I mean, neither of these fighters really deliver consistently. It's the best way I can describe this, I guess. So I wonder if we can get away with stuff like, I don't know, something like that, play a Holloway here or something like that. I don't know. If you can get away with Cachoeira and Holloway, whatever, and not play the main event. I mean, you don't think this is going to win, um, but it certainly could. And listen, this Cortez Acosta fight, and this one, I mean, you don't have to play a Cortez Acosta. You can play Span and leave 400 on the table. I don't think there's literally any difference between these two. I mean, they're gonna bang it out, and the winner's gonna score probably between 90 and 100. And I don't know which one it's gonna be. So this looks like a good looking lineup, I guess. You're gonna get so much on this delete save, Vittori, because look at how these just kind of how these fighters just slide right into your lineups. So I don't know. So it is a very interesting DFS card. I think that you can do a couple of different things, and I definitely think that it's definitely back weighted towards the later fights. And again, what we're going to do is tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow, we'll do what was the word I was going to say? We'll do a lineup construction video where we run some sims and do some other fun stuff. Look for that, and otherwise, I'll catch you later.